I'm getting married and I'm excited, so I decided that I was going to make a series of videos chronicling my thoughts as I go through this process. I wanted to look back on what had taken place in my life, as well as look forward to the things that I'm optimistic about and hopeful for and looking forward to in life. And today it got me thinking about getting inside the mind of a man. If you look on the internet, if you go on YouTube, you'll see all types of topics that say men don't want to get married anymore, and there's a growing number of men that do not want to be married, and you know it'll talk about men this and men that, and so there are lots of different blanket statements that are thrown over men for why men are moving away from dating and relationships. And today I wanted to address that because that's the problem. You might be thinking, what's the problem? The problem is the blanket. The problem is that when you make a general statement about men as an individual woman, what you are doing is you are announcing to a man that you're not specifically about him. Now, this might not seem revolutionary, but think about this. If we are having a conversation and you are talking to me about what you would say is all men, but we're having a direct conversation, you're telling me that you don't know me. You're telling me that you haven't taken the time to consider me, and therefore I'm immediately going to be turned off and shut down by you because you're not about me. You haven't learned me. You're not studying me. You, in essence, are telling me that I have not established enough value in your life for you to pay specific attention to me. So men, we use these statements. Men are like this. Men are like that. Men do this. Men do that. You're going to lose a guy every time. You know what? Let me stop right there. You might not. You might not lose a guy making those statements. But what you need to do, if you really want to be connected to a particular man, is find out from him. See, I don't think people are as complex as we make them out to be. I think people innately within all of us, we want to be valued as individuals. We want to be seen. We want to be recognized. I oftentimes see where women say, "Oh, my partner, he doesn't pay attention to me. He doesn't see me. He doesn't listen to me. I don't feel valued by him. I don't feel like I'm heard." But on the other side of the table, we're not robots. Men are not robots, and we have these feelings too. We can be happy, we can be sad, we can be filled with excitement and joy, we can be afraid. We experience all the same feelings that women feel. But in society, generally, it gets diminished. If a man is a particular kind of way, he gets labeled. So then men, we learn how to adjust our feelings and adjust the way that we portray them. And so we start to mask ourselves. And then when we show up in relationships, you're wondering what's wrong with them. Well, here's the answer. There hasn't been a safe space for that man. If you look into his past, if you look into his experiences, if you look into what he's been through in life, you might find that there hasn't been a safe space. As a man, I've been through relationships that did not end well. And so right now, I'm very optimistic and hopeful and looking forward to the future of being a married man, being a husband, and having this life with another person. But it was not always the case. But I can tell you how this story goes. There was a point in time where the woman that I'm marrying, she told me, "You're my person." And I didn't believe her. I really brushed her off. She said, "No, you're my person." And I'm thinking, no, I don't think I am. But she was convinced I was her person. And I thought I was in a place where I was all good in life. I was excited. I was doing business. I was working with lots of people, impacting lots of lives. And what I realized looking back, I was broken. My life, even though I was serving and helping other people, there were some things on the inside of me that were broken. And so even when she was speaking to me, telling me that I was her person, I'm thinking, no, I wasn't even emotionally available. And I knew that. I did know that I was not available. I was interacting with different women, having experiences, and wanting what I thought was the relationship. But because I was broken, it was never really going to happen. Not until some healing took place. You see, when a person goes through something, male, female, doesn't matter. When you go through something and it hurts you and it damages you and you've been let down or disappointment, those scars are real. You might not see them like you see the scars of broken bones or some type of physical surgery, but those scars are real. And I had those scars, and many people have those scars, and they go untreated. And so I'm going through life, I'm going through this process, trying to figure it out, not having all the right answers, making plenty of mistakes, missteps along the way, trying to figure out how to be this man that I wanted to be. But I was in a broken place. Didn't feel safe in church. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe around people, feeling like that because I didn't feel like many people were going to be real. You know where I found the most real engagement and the most real conversations? You want to know where my safe space was? In the gym. During my broken time, I was also running and owning my own business, helping women to train physically and develop their bodies and reshape their bodies and become the healthiest versions of themselves. And so that's where I found many of my most raw conversations. Here's how this worked. These women, they would show up to the gym, they wanted to change their life. But many of them would look at themselves and be disappointed about the way that they looked. They would be disappointed with some aspect of their physical body. Something would cause them shame. And so they would show up and I'm there and I'm saying, okay, what's your vision? What's your dream? Where do you want to go? What do you want out of your life? What's your experience that you want to have? And someone would say, well, I want to be in the best shape of my life, or I want to lose 100 pounds or 40 pounds, or I want to feel sexy again, or I want to wear some boots that I can zip all the way up. There were all kinds of different motivators. They wanted to feel good. They wanted to be whole. And so what I found over time was that being in the environment of these women that were actually healing their lives, I began to heal. I began to see that I was broken. I began to see that I wasn't as strong as I thought I was. Oh yeah, on the outside, things look good. I remember during that time in life, the women, they would be in the gym, they would train, and they would leave, and I would want to train after they left, and I would be completely exhausted, physically and emotionally, not because I had worked out, but because I was rehearsing in my mind failure. And I didn't feel like I had a safe space to share with anyone. I felt like I was such a disappointment to my family, to my friends, to the church community, to those that I knew. All I really wanted to do was just be alone and hide. I just wanted to be wallowing in my shame. And that's where I learned that that's what shame wants you to do. Shame thrives in isolation. And it had me. Oh, I could put on a good face. I could smile, I could serve, I could show up where I was supposed to be. I could be super encouraging to everyone else. And yet I was broken and hurting and emotionally unavailable. And so as I was helping the women to heal, as I was encouraging them, what I found along the way was that I started to heal as well. I felt safe with them. I felt safe with them because many of them felt like the forgotten. Many of them felt like they were the ones that didn't fit in. You see, one thing I knew about those women, especially the ones that when they looked at themselves or they looked at the scale, they saw a number that was too much, right? It might have been 50 pounds too much, or 100 pounds too much, or 40 pounds too much, maybe 20, whatever it was. The number was too much, and it caused them such shame that they felt just like they needed to hide. And so as I encouraged them out of that spot, I was ultimately hearing those words. And so my safe space was amongst all these women, helping them. I began to heal. But it wasn't complete. It wasn't whole, because I was still doing mostly for everyone else. And I was savvy enough not to let anyone else really in. Not to really expose my hurt, expose my pain, to be vulnerable that way. I didn't fully have a safe space. I had created a safe space for them, but there was still part of it. I knew I was serving them, so it wasn't a place for me to air out my feelings. No, it was a place for me to serve them. And so as I'm going through life, knowing that this woman has said, "You're my person," and I'm thinking, no, I'm not. She decided that she was going to be so specific about me that she would leave no doubt. She wasn't doing life in general with me. She became very specific about me. It reminded me in my healing process of what the Bible says when it says, "Study to show yourself approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." The principle in that was to study, to show yourself worthy so that you wouldn't be ashamed for not knowing. Study to show yourself approved. Study to show yourself worthy. And what she did, she was studying me. She wasn't doing life in general. She wasn't doing, men in general. No. She said, "You're my person." And let me tell you, there were times that I wasn't all warm and receptive. I tried to push her away. I told her, no, I'm pushing everyone away, including you. And she said, I use the analogy of, I'm pushing everyone out of the house. And she said, "Well, I'll be on the porch." I'm like, oh, you just won't give up. She's like, "No, you're my person." And I don't know what your relationship is or what your thoughts are about relationship, but I can tell you this. If you, the whole definition of the word relationship means in reference to. So how you position yourself in reference to someone else matters. If you want to position yourself in reference to someone else and speak to them in generalities, that's not compelling. Who really wants that? Do you want that? I bet you don't. I bet you don't want to be in conversations with someone. Imagine being close to someone and connected to them, and they open their mouth and they begin to talk to you, and they begin to talk about women in general. Do you really want that? How long would you want to be in a situation where every time someone talked to you, they were talking about women in general? We might not always say it with our words, but that's how we live sometimes. We live in this way of general. I'm just going to be general. And I'm a big fan of the internet. I mean, I have hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok and a few thousand on Facebook and Instagram. I enjoy all of this. But part of the problem is that there's so much for us to see, and so much for us to take in and experience visually, we can become general very quickly. Because we're looking at the images of other people. We're reading the words of other people. We're seeing the accolades of other people. We are taking in a lot of other people. So when we are with the one that we want to be in closest relationship to, we actually show up and we're very distant from them. Because all day long, what we've done is we've put other people between ourselves and them. Think about how close your relationship could be to someone if you weren't constantly scrolling people in between you two. How can we actually be specific when we are learning so many other people? The thing that's crushing relationships now, it's not the internet. It's not social media. It's our lack of boundaries and the lack of study for the one that we say we want closest to us. In this past year, I've taken time to reevaluate the way that I operated on social media. And it was tough. It was challenging from the standpoint of I didn't know what was going to happen, and likes and follows and all that stuff, and the metrics. And I found it to be challenging at a point, but I also knew it was time to reevaluate life. It was time to really consider where time was being deposited and was it most beneficial. Sure, I want my social media to grow because when it grows, that means that I'm reaching people. People are hearing a message that's encouraging them and building them up, and I want that. There also needs to be boundaries. I also have to guard my relationship. Now I have to guard, and it's not just now, because I would think this for years prior to now, I have to guard my marriage. I knew there was something in me for most of my life. I wanted to be married. When I was young in elementary school, I would go into my parents' bedroom and I would take my mom and dad's marriage devotional books and I would read their devotional books and then I would put them back. But there was something in me that was drawn towards this idea of marriage and relationship and having that covenant connection. I wanted it. And even though situations in my life had gone differently than I expected, and even though I experienced the heartbreak, I still wanted it. And so even as social media grew and my connections on social media grew, I started to realize I need to start protecting the marriage that I want in my future. And you get to do the same thing. You get to decide if you are going to live in general and just have a general relationship with everybody, then just know you're going to sacrifice the sacred intimacy. You're going to sacrifice the most intimate connections that you could have if you never step away from the general population to have something that is close and intimate. There needs to be, in your mindset, you would want to cultivate this idea of sacred intimacy, where there is something that you hold dear, that you protect, and you keep people's hands and their conversations off of it. Something you want to protect. It's a safe space that you get to invite someone in because you've prepared for it. When I was going through my healing process, I was doing so in preparation for better days, in preparation with the hope that I would have greater connection. It wasn't always the case because at one point I had written off relationships. But as I started to heal, that thing that was inside of me, that hope, that dream, that aspiration started to be reborn, started to be resurrected. I believe God did that. That God said, yeah, I understand what's in your past, but here's still some hope. Here's a measure of hope for you. Now what you do with it, it's up to you. And I decided I want to nurture it. I want to grow it. I want to take care of it. And so now I'm getting married and I'm excited. And I get to share my thoughts in this journey with you. I don't know what this is going to become, but I've made a commitment to show up on YouTube and to share and to create content that I would hope would inspire and lift you up. I had set a little timer there. So I'm going to shut this down because I know you have things to do, but I just wanted to encourage you to be specific. Be specific about your own healing, about looking at your life and cultivating a sacred, safe space for yourself, Find people and allow certain people into your life that will help you to grow, that'll help you to heal, people that are going to encourage you into to positive experiences, that they'll be there for you when things go wrong. You want to look for those kind of relationships. Look for friends that are there for you. Really there for you, not the ones that you're doubting or questioning. Form a sacred boundary around you with some people that are protective of you, that care about you, that will help you to heal, because they're not going to let someone or some experience run all over you. That's what my bride to be, that's what she did. She was a part of that circle where she protected me. She helped create a safe space for me. She would hear my frustrations. She would hear my victories. She would hear my ideas, my hopes and aspirations. She would just be. Just be present sometimes. That sacred, safe space is important. And she knew, for me, it was really important. She knew peace was important for me. And so in my process, she became a person of peace. And as I healed, her specific study that she knew me so well helps me to see that, yes, indeed, I am your person and you are my person. And so as my story unfolds, I want to share it with you so that you can have hope for your story in your life. Whether or not you decide that you want to be with a person in that way, totally up to you. But you can have hope for your life. That whatever is going on, there's still hope for a greater day. Whatever you've been through, there's still hope for you to go to another level, to a higher level, to, as I say, rise in love. No falling in love. Falling in love is a bad idea. You want to rise in love, continually moving from a lower place to a higher place. And so today, I hope this encouraged you to take that step. Today's step, being intentional about being specific. As best you can, start to guard and protect your mind from being sucked into this idea of just being general. No, make someone, some experience, some endeavor worth specific study. Make it worth your time to shut out the distraction and the noise so that you can focus. And what it's going to do for you is, even without you noticing it, it's going to create a safe space where you can learn, where you can grow, where you can heal, where you can develop, and you can have richer relationships. I'm B.A. Sheppard, 2 P's, A-R-D. Thanks for being here. I look forward to seeing you next time. Hit the like button if you have been blessed by this. Share it with someone else if you think it can help them. I just look forward to seeing you. Thank you for being here.